Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Patrice, and in this video we will be discussing things I've read. And now let's get started. So I have 5 books in the video today. The first one is a mystery by Uzma Jalaluddin, and the title is Detective Aunty. And this author, she also wrote Aisha at Last, which was like a contemporary romance, but this is her first mystery novel, and I will read you the summary. Kasar Khan heads to Toronto for the first time in 20 years after receiving a phone call from her daughter Sana saying she's been arrested for killing the unpopular landlord of her clothing boutique. The landlord's murder is only the latest in a wave of local crimes that have gone unsolved. Kasar senses there's more to the story than her daughter is telling her. With the help of some old friends and her teenage granddaughter, Kasar digs into the investigation to discover the truth. I really like this book, and I would definitely recommend it, especially for those of you who are looking like to get into mysteries. This was a good one. This would be a good one to start with. I like that the story is set in the Muslim community because we really don't see like a lot of stories from that community. I like that there are lots of suspects and twists in the stories. The only thing that I didn't care for is at the end, we are left with a cliffhanger and some unanswered questions. For me, I like my mysteries to be wrapped up at the end. I don't like to have lingering questions, but all in all, like I said, I really enjoyed this story. Um, there are, I guess, like several mysteries that are in here, but they all come together at the end. Some of the characters, like, they do have little attitude problems, so some of them are unlikable, but you can still get through the story. Overall, I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I'm going to talk about is Baracoon, The Story of the Last Black Cargo by Zora Neale Hurston, and this is a biography. This story is about Oluwale Kasola, and when he came to America, well, when he was brought to America on the slave ship, the Clotilda, they named him Cujo Lewis. And this is his biography. But let me read you the summary. In 1927, Zora Neale Hurston traveled to Plateau, Alabama to visit 86-year-old Cujo Lewis, or Oluwale Kasola, a survivor of the Clotilda, the last slaver known to have made the transatlantic journey. Illegally brought to the United States, Cujo was enslaved 50 years after the slave trade was outlawed. At the time, Cujo was the only person alive who could recount this part of the nation's history. Over a 3-month period, Cujo gradually began to share heart-rending memories of his childhood in Africa, the attack by female warriors who slaughtered his townspeople, the horrors of being captured and held in the barracoons of Ouida, the Middle Passage aboard the Clotilda, the years he spent in slavery until the end of the Civil War, and finally his role in founding Africa Town. So the things that I like. So I like that this is a firsthand account of an enslaved person's total journey from Africa to America. So like the summary said, Cujo was able to tell like how the Dahomey warriors came to his town and like totally like obliterated the townspeople and took the prisoners of war captive, and they ended up selling the prisoners of war to this white man from Alabama. And the white guy, he went to Africa to get these enslaved people on a bet, because by this time they had outlawed slavery in America. So one of his friends bet him, like, like, you can't go there and get, any more slaves. And he's like, oh yeah, I can. So that's how he ended up there, buying these enslaved people from the Dahomey king. So one of the controversies with this book is that in Zora Neale Hurston's time, people, I guess, like the movers and shakers and great thinkers of the time, they did not want to hear about how the king in Dahomey was responsible for, capturing these people and selling them to these white folks from America. They were like, oh, like, I guess it was like mind blowing to them that Africans would sell other Africans. Um, so they were just having a hard time wrapping their mind around that. But that's why I like Cujo's story, because he like tells us what really happened, like how he came to be captured, and like what it was like to have to leave behind everything that he knew. And then he and the others that were captured, they were held in these cells in Ouida, and just like the Middle Passage, like what they had to go through while they were on the ship. And then after that, when they were finally, after the Civil War ends, so there were 110 people on the Clotilda, and they were enslaved for about 5.5 years. So they arrived to America 5.5 years before the Civil War was over. And, after they received their freedom, they wanted to go back to Africa because they could actually like remember like the family and friends and like their lives from um, before being enslaved. So they wanted to go back to Africa, and their former master was like, no way, like, I'm not giving you any money to send you back. Like, no. So they actually ended up um, like pooling their money together and pooling their resources, and they founded a town called Africa Town, and they built their own houses, they built a church there. In fact, that town is still in existence, and the descendants of the people from the Clotilda, some of them are still there as well. So you can visit, and I believe there is a museum that's there. There are two great PBS documentaries about the Clotilda, and then about the descendants traveling back to Africa to visit like the family that was left behind there, and to bring their ancestors back home, because Kasula, he really wanted to go back home. He wanted, um, to return because he remembered um, Africa and being there. That was just like his heart's desire. So those are the things that I enjoyed. One thing that this brought up was that when the people that were aboard the Clotilda arrived, like they were treated horribly by white people, but they were also treated um, horribly by African American Black people that were here, that were born here and like grew up here. So what he said was that like his children, they were picked on, they were um said that they looked like monkeys, and um that they ate like human flesh. And this was from African Americans that were here in this country that did not, I guess that they were like so far removed from their African ancestors that they picked on these people and made fun of them. And I just found that like so interesting. Like it's like the same thing that's going on today with the diaspora wars between like Caribbean and African immigrants that are here, and Haitian immigrants that are here now, and African American Black people, like how they're trying to put up a division between us so that we are not unified. So I just thought, that was interesting to see in the story as well. One of the things that, some people may find difficult is that uh, Zora Neale Hurston, she writes in Kasula's dialect. So, that may be like a little bit hard or take you out of the story to have to like kind of figure out like what exactly he's trying to say. But, if you have relatives from the South, I think it's just like that. Like you can understand, like you can figure it out by using context clues and things like that. One thing I would have liked was to have like more pictures of Cujo and like his family and stuff like that. And then if I could have had it, like my way, I would have liked to have heard from his descendants or the descendants of the other people that were aboard the Clotilda as well. Um, the story is very, very short, even though the whole book, including like the notes, bibliography, the forewords, and everything, it's 171 pages. But Cujo's actual story is not that long. So it's not like a very, very long read. You can get through it in a day. I just think it's like a very important piece of history. And we always get to hear like stories from the captains of the slave ships and like reading the journals of the people that kidnap these people. Um, you always get to hear the thoughts of the slavers, but like Zora Neale Hurston said, you rarely get to hear uh, the story from the perspective of the cargo. So that was nice that this was his firsthand account. And now I am interested in reading like other narratives from formerly enslaved people. I know I think like the Library of Congress, they have like the interviews where formerly enslaved people were interviewed, and they told their story. So I'm going to go down that rabbit hole next. But all in all, I ended up giving this book a 4 out of 5 stars. And it's only a 4 because, like I said, his actual story is very short, and I just would have liked more like information on the other people that were on the ship and their descendants and stuff like that. The next book I'm going to talk about is The Jewel of the Blues, and this was by Monica Chenault-Kilgore, and this is a historical fiction. And the summary says, blues singer Lucille Arnetta Love always dreamed of life under the lights. From traveling family gospel band to lead singer in a vaudeville troupe, Lucille is on the rise. But a devastating family secret, one that's poised to shatter every dream she's ever had, casts an inescapable shadow over Lucille's career. So this book, even though I don't know why, it just took me forever to get through this book. Like the premise was like very, very good, and it had great potential. It just did not meet my expectations. So it didn't draw me in the way that I thought it would. So we have Lucille. She is a young girl with a very big voice. So her mom and dad go on the road with her, and she wants to be a star. So she wants to do any and everything to sing, sing, sing. And before they go on the road, her mom and her dad, they have to leave town suddenly because her dad is involved in a traumatic event, and the secret that results from this event ends up like following them throughout their lives. So this secret could end up destroying like Lucille's career and everything. So based upon that, you think you're getting like, I don't know, like an action-packed story full of drama and danger, but that's not what you get. Like most of the story is about Lucille and how she wants to sing and how she is going to um, put her act together to ensure that she has the success that she wants. So the story is really about her group, but it's like the story is almost there, but it doesn't push it to like that next level that would make it a great story. So some of the things that I like, I love how the author, she weaves in history about Black performers in the vaudeville era. So I did enjoy that a lot. And she has an excellent reader's guide with discussion questions. She has a music playlist that she's put together. And then she gives us history of the theaters that are mentioned in the story where the Black performers put on their shows. So that was excellent. Like it really makes you feel like you are in the story, you're immersed in the music and everything like that. But like I said, some of the other things are that like the characters are not fully developed. They're very like surface level. You don't get a lot of their motivations or anything like that. And then this story is very repetitive. Like we read a lot about how they like to drink and party, and we're getting like a lot of feelings about Lucille's love life and how she wants to sing and sing and sing. And then there's another part where she has a muse and how that influences her in her career as well. But that part to me just does not fit the story. So, yeah, I don't know what it was about this. I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. And it had some very good elements, but I just don't think it rose to the occasion. But it was still well written. And like I said, I enjoyed the reader's guide and everything else that the author put together. I did end up still giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I'm going to talk about is Welcome to Murder Week, and this is by Karen Dukess. And this is a mystery novel, and I will read the summary. When 34-year-old Kath loses her mostly absentee mother, she doesn't know how to mourn. But when she goes through her mother's things one afternoon, Kath is perplexed to find tickets for an upcoming murder week in England. A whole town has come together to stage a fake murder mystery to boost tourism in their village. Kath decides to go on the trip herself and teams up with her 2 American cottage mates, Wyatt Green and Amity Clark, to solve the crime. While there, Kath also begins to unravel shocking truths about her mother along the way. Now, this story is billed as a mystery, but it's not like a cozy mystery or anything like that. I don't really know why they build it as a mystery. It's more like a contemporary fiction than a mystery novel. So we do have the murder mystery that the town is putting on, and that's like a cute little story. It is something that you can solve. But then we get the background, like about Kath and her relationship with her mother and how they weren't particularly close, and just like some revelations that she's getting while she's on this trip. So I enjoyed the mystery within the mystery. I like the setting of the book over in England. You know, that's where most cozies are set anyway. And I really like the characters. Kath was a little annoying. Like, I didn't like her as much, but everyone else, like the townspeople, um, her friends back home in the US, the 2 roommates that she met on this murder mystery week, I enjoyed everyone else. One of the things I didn't like, I guess, is Kath's reaction to the things that she learned about her mom. Like, I just thought it was a little over the top, especially because, I don't know, like being a mom myself, I just feel like sometimes kids forget that their parents are humans. And in this case, I think Kath, like, her outrage wasn't as justified as she thought it was. Now, some things her mom did, yeah, it's like, now wait a minute. But what she really got upset about, it's like, no, like, that doesn't make any sense. Um, one thing, another thing I didn't like was that there was an insta love story. So Kath meets some random guy while she's there, and they just instantly fell in love with each other and did not uh, like want to leave each other. So I didn't like that part of the story. And then like the revelations about her mom and what happened, those were pretty predictable. So the story is predictable, but I really, for some reason, I just really enjoyed this book. Like, it was nice and cozy to me, even with the insta love and like Kath being annoying. I still really like this book. So I ended up giving it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed it. I would recommend it, like, if you're looking for something like fun and not too serious, like, this is a good story. It was what I needed after Jewel of the Blues, because that one was like, it just took me forever to get through it, and then I read this one right after, so maybe that's why I liked it so much, because Jewel of the Blues was disappointing. The last book I'm going to talk about is The Murder of Mr. Ma, and this is by John Shen and S.J. Rozan, and this is a cozy mystery. The summary says, when shy academic Lao She meets Judge Di Renji, his quiet life abruptly turns from books and lectures to daring chases and narrow escapes. Di has come to London to investigate the murder of a man he'd known during World War I when serving with the Chinese Labor Corps. Bodies start piling up, all stabbed to death with a butterfly sword. Will Di and Lao be able to connect the threads of the murders, or are they next in line as victims? So this story was billed as like a Sherlock Holmes meets like kung fu movie, all thrown together into a book. So I did enjoy that there was lots of action and fight scenes, and I like the idea of like a crime fighting or mystery solving duo. The things I didn't enjoy, so I'm not sure if I like these characters or not yet. Um, they did not grow on me while I read the story, and the mystery was definitely a little boring. There weren't enough like twists and turns to me, and there are a lot of racist stereotypes in this story. And for the time that it's set in, they are understandable, but that is still a warning. If you do not like that kind of language, to steer clear of this book, because again, lots of racist stereotypes about Chinese people in this book. I ended up giving this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Although there was a lot of action, like I said, the mystery to me was not um, good, and I like the culprit to me shouldn't have been the culprit. It should have been someone else, but yeah, like this one, I don't know. It just didn't do anything for me. Now, this was the first book in the series. There is a second book that is out right now, but I do not know if I will be picking that one up. So that's the end of this book review video. Please let me know if you've read any of these books or what you think in the comments. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you the next time. Bye-bye.